that, and that means he's doing.
You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
And welcome back to round 6 of the aReNGee Eternal Sealed Tournament presented by KCBandit. I am SirRhino, and joining me in the booth as we wind down these last couple of rounds of Swiss limited action, it's Man on Mouse. How are we doing?
Hey, pretty good, pretty good. We are looking at Zepher versus Racerman. Zepher is bringing an interesting deck here. He can start off really explosive. He has Pyro Knights, he's rocking Lethra Ranger, Longshot Marksman, Obsidian Golems, like a good solid Stone Scar early game. And then later on, sometimes sprinkled in here and there. And by sprinkled, I mean he's playing Pillar of Amar. He can transition into a pretty scary late game, starting in the mid game with double Impending Doom, and then having rocking Warband Chieftain, Cannonbearer, and Pillar of Amar to round things out. Racerman, he is on Justice Primal. He's like a Horu fire deck. His start's somewhat less explosive, although he does have solid early game units, 2 Finest Hours to back them up. His deck is slightly less removal dense, I feel. He's splashing for a Parliament. He's rocking Pouncing Drake at the top end, and he's also Bold Move, going for the default plate splash, although it's not really a splash. He's pretty heavy in fire.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if he finds the right card at the right time, he has a shot. I feel the slight edge goes to Zephyr, though, due to the higher unit quality in his deck.
Mm-hmm. I am gonna side on Racerman in this match. I like what's going on here. As you said, he's Fire Justice Primal primarily, but splashing, going the full 5 faction to splash the Parliament, like you talked about. A Slay is in there, and maybe most notably 2 Forsworn Strangers. So if you hit that high influence count, they're a 4/4 or a 5/5 for 3. That's a whole lot of pressure. That's hard to deal with. Although I can agree. Zephyr's got a good game plan. I think the one thing I'm nervous about looking at his deck is while the highs are high, right? 2 Impending Dooms. The lows are pretty low. A Recogulator, 2 Horn Vorlunk, a Cripple, 2 Venom Fang Daggers, a Decay. Like there's some clunky cards that I'm not a huge fan of seeing here. So I'm going to go with Racerman. I think both players have their own built-in inconsistencies, Racerman being on 5 faction, being the big thing here. But I like that he's also bringing all the haymakers to the table.
Oh, yeah, he is. I mean, Zephyr does run some subpar cards here, but then again, all these strange units like Recogulator and these low-impact weapons like Dagger, they suddenly get better if you see he's also running a Smuggler Stash. And if his stash is drawing you 4 cards, you are going to be in a good spot, even if 2 of those cards are Recogulator and Venom Fang Dagger.
Right. I do not disagree there. I think either way, this will be an entertaining match as it gets underway here. Also wanted to correct one thing. I said it was round 6. It's round 7. Both of these players are 5-1. And the way this Swiss should shake out is anybody that ends up 7-1 after 8 rounds is a lock for top 8. So they want to get that lock, and they don't want to sweat out tiebreakers if they lose here. So this is a pretty big match. Both players have a lot on the line here in terms of that top 8 cut, as we see just players, nothing flying out yet, just developing the power.
Yeah, I also like him holding the Amethyst Acolyte here. That's not really a unit you play as a threat. It's a reactive unit you try to get value out of. So yeah, I think he's just fine taking it slow here.
Yeah, you could have been bold and like played out the Acolyte and put the cloak on it, but what's the rush? Ooh, Jotun Hurler comes out from Racerman, who is on 1 of each influence. Look at that. Primal Sigil, Fire Sigil, Diplomatic Seal, Time Sigil, Justice Sigil.
Beautiful.
Just like we drew it up. And yeah, we'll see the Annihilate come out on that 4/4.
Not a single banner was played even. He just do it all per hand.
Yeah, now Racerman does have some double influence requirements, but Forsworn Stranger is not one of them. That's just a 5/5 for 3 that I talked about, thinking he could be the MVP here. But we see Granite Acolyte load up the Recogulator, trying to set up an Amethyst Acolyte follow up here.
Yeah, I like this line. And if it goes wrong, you pushed 4 damage, and you can still shrink down the the Force on Stranger to have the double block with the Acolytes, and then you keep your Recogulator. Decent spot to be in here.
Yeah, so we don't know what's in Racerman's hand right now other than a snowball, but I think he knows something's up if he blocks here. It's just got to decide, is it worth losing my 5/5 unit? He decides it's not, and Zephyr doesn't even play out the Amethyst Acolyte here to get his shrink on.
I can see it due to the snowball. Oh. Suddenly the Acolytes are not looking as good anymore.
Well, Hydra looks pretty good, but Zephyr can't cast it. So he's got some decisions to make. Could Dark Return Granite Acolyte, but I don't really like using Dark Return when you have a high value target waiting in hand in Venom Spy Hydra and not under all that much pressure. Maybe you just go with the Amethyst Acolyte play here anyway, shrink down the Stranger. No, it's going to die to a snowball, but at least discourage one of these units from attacking.
It's an interesting decision Zephyr is faced here. So you can choose to shrink down the Stranger to offer the trade with the Recogulator. You can also choose down to shrink the Jotun Cyclops, so set up for a Runic Revolver turn, get off the Cyclops that way. He chose a completely different line, which is not always even swing. I was about to say that sets up a
5/2.
That also sets up blocks on both units here, but I'm not quite sure I like the swing.
Ooh, and Rock Slide comes out. Racerman using it aggressively here, going to go in for 9 damage here instead of taking out the 6/2, goes and takes out the 3/2. And now Zephyr is way on the back foot, but Venom Spy Hydra might help him get back in this.
Yeah, that is a hard card to push across.
Yeah, it's like, good luck removing it, because if you do, your units die. But Frostkin that's a good one. So Zephyr gets aggressive with the 6/2, and Racerman responds in kind by bringing down the pressure. He does have a Healer's Cloak to heal up with.
Yeah, I think
puts it on the Hydra that can't block, though. All right, so Racerman's got a snowball, right?
I think he used both. No, he still has a snowball, yes.
Yeah.
So he can push a total of 8 here, bring it down to 3. But then he also needs to have a unit, because the Hydra itself presents lethal damage.
Right. Yeah, the Hydra is 9 now. Thanks to that Healer's Cloak, that huge 9 health point swing. Snowball takes out the 2/1. What else does Racerman have here?
This Runic Revolver can be really tricky next turn. If Zephyr decides to kick it back here, block the 5/5 now, then eat the 3/2 overwhelm with this Revolver, there's not much wiggle room for Racerman to push through anymore. Suddenly he's in this lock, his units get chipped away slowly by this Revolver.
Yeah, so in comes 3 units, force the block. But if Racerman doesn't have anything else as a follow-up, Zephyr has the Runic Revolver to clear this blocker.
And that should be game.
Wait.
Wait.
Racerman scooped! He saw the revolver and just scooped, but Zephyr hit a different unit. I mean, to be fair, Racerman was in a bad position regardless.
Dead, yeah.
But, oh, man, a little bit of... It's a long tournament. Let's just...
It's getting late. Yeah, the players have played a ton of games by now.
Yeah, I think we'll let that one slide. Sometimes spot the lethal when you're this far into the tournament. It can be a tough game to play. So, anyways,
I've made mistakes like this. I can't count them anymore. It's as long as you have the mindset to shrug them off. I mean, at this spot he was fine, right? He won the game anyway. But if something like that happens to you, you need to have the mindset to shrug it off and still try to bring your A game the next day in the next game.
Yep. It's a card game, right? Everybody makes mistakes. It's not about if you make them and how you make them, it's how you respond to them. But who knows? They probably don't even recognize it, right? The opponent scooped up anyway. So
yeah, he's like fine.
Yeah, it's all good. So we're gonna hop back in here. Zephyr taking that first game, so it's up 1-0 in this match, and is looking at a hand with only 2 power, but a lot of castables with that power.
He has, yeah, and he also mulliganed, so he chooses time here. Means he's confident he will draw the. I think he could have waited. There was no rush to play these the diplomatic suit there. See what he draws next.
Stone Scar Stranger, the play for Racerman, already on 4 influence. In comes the 2-1, no dagger on it or anything like that. Just going to hold up the Annihilate. And does Racerman have the 5-5 for 3? Let's find out. There's a bit of a pause here. Looks like he's got some decisions to make.
I think I would have liked the Venom Fang dagger here. It's kind of what the hand tells you to do, right?
Yeah, like when else are you going to get it out of your hand at this point? As there's the time sigil off the top.
Now I would have definitely gone for the Venom Fang dagger because that tells us there's something up here.
Yeah. Finest Hour is the play. Zephyr still, though, gets to use the Dark Return here, bring back the Marksman. Now it's a 3-2 quick draw. But I agree. Waiting on this dagger, I don't think it's going to get a whole lot better than this. Now you had to use Dark Return on it instead of your Impending Doom. Ugh.
Yeah, feels really bad. So he's getting punished here. Never mind, he doesn't. He drew time naturally, so he kind of got a little bit punished by using his diplomatic seal early.
Plays the Impending Doom pre-combat, gives his opponent more information, but also hides the pause from Annihilate. So that is something. And we see the Mortar come out from Racerman, gets the 2-for-1 there. Dagger ends up doing absolutely nothing this game. Or no, the dagger's still in hand. It came back from the Dark Return. That's right. So Racerman staring down a 5-5 Impending Doom that's in the air. We've seen this card do a lot of work so far in this tournament.
Oh, he might be either he's trying to race here, or he might be setting up the double block next turn. And that Annihilate can lead to some disaster here for Racerman if he decides to go for it.
Yeah, the other story here is Zephyr made time with that Diplo Seal, does not get to play either of his fire cards, whether it be Runic Revolver or Recogulator here. And wow, Racerman's just getting aggressive, decides to turn it on, does not want to get blown out by the removal spell. And now, Zephyr will just use it on the 4-4 and finds that power. Runic Revolver comes down. And it's going to take a ping from the Impending Doom. So
no, he does not want to gain the additional value. He's just crunching in with the Impending Doom.
Yeah, I like that play here. It also means, the Stranger's got to come in to finish the job. Forsworn Stranger comes down, tries to help out this race. Racerman's down to 11. The dagger ups the clock, but it'll put it on the Recogulator instead to play defense with this Forsworn Stranger.
Yeah, I like it. Since he has the second dagger in hand, he can present it the next turn and force out the jump anyway. You might as well play it safe and put the dagger on the Recogulator. It's still not a great play, but it provides you with the defense you need on the air. Ooh,
yeah, especially with that second dagger, as you said. You don't need to show them that they have to chump block next turn. Now Racerman's hesitating like,
exactly.
I'm racing. He might have lethal. He might not. Can I afford to swing with this 2-2 flyer?
And the Quartermaster. Now he gets the dagger for free.
Let's go. Decides to not present lethal with it, though.
Interesting.
And jams in with both, forces the blocks anyway. Sure. And, Zephyr found another thing that makes a weapon with Granite Acolyte. Slay comes out. I think it's a little too late here. Static bolts.
And a snowball.
All right.
Might be getting there. He takes 4 next turn. Yeah, but still most likely going to be too much.
I don't think Racerman has something like a plague in his deck here. So
no, I don't think so. He needs Auric Sentry. Fortunately, not good enough there.
Whew. Man, Zephyr throwing fastballs here. Needed to come out of that Impending Doom, found the power when he needed it to, and unlock the rest of his hand just in time to really lock down the game.
Yeah, got a little bit bumpy in the middle there, not having the fire influence. due to the sigil usage earlier, the diplomatic seal, but worked out in the end. And that is just Impending Doom is such a hard card to deal with, right?
Right.
5/5 fire. That is the game-winning card on its own when it's not getting answered immediately.
Mm-hmm. The interesting thing that happened that game was, though, that he used a mortar to kill the quick draw unit and then had the snowball. So if he had a little bit information at the right spots, he may have been able to figure out how to deal with that Doom. But you don't have perfect information about what's on top of your deck or what's coming.
Yeah, it's a hard call to make. I mean, he could have waited a little bit longer, maybe one more turn, depending how his hand was textured at that moment, because the marksman was not at risk of ultimating next turn. Zephyr's was at 4 power that turn, so he could have maybe waited, but it's a hard call to make. You have like one snowball generator in your deck. So yeah, I don't fault Racerman at all for using his mortar in that spot. He has heart removal. He has 2 Ice Brides. He has a Slay and Cersus Meddling and a Gun Down. All cards that would have dealt nicely with the Impending Doom. But sometimes the threats and the answers don't line up the way you want them to.
Right. He left 4 power open that turn. He committed to using mortar, and he had to use it to not get too behind on tempo. So certainly no fault there. It's just sometimes decisions are tough to make. All right. It looks like we do have a backup match that we're going to jump into. So it looks like Child Roland versus Dire Warning. We are in game 3. They're tied 1-1. So let's see if we can hop on in the observation deck and see what's going on here. Actually, the game 3 has not started yet, so we're waiting for that. We'll give them the go ahead, and then we'll jump in. So let's see what decks we're looking at. We saw Child Roland a bit earlier in the tournament. He was on that 5-faction Combre list, where it's just had some. The Blister Sting Wasp was doing work. The Double Awakened Student. And a whole lot of removal to back it up, and a few bombs here and there, like Warband Chieftain, 4th Tree Elder, Steelbound Dragon. Everybody's favorite Combre card.
Let's see what Dire Warning is running. We are looking at the first card I noticed is the Flamestoker. That is a win condition that is really hard to deal with, especially if you don't have any form of relic interaction in your deck or in your sideboard. So he's straight up 3 colors here, which makes casting cards like Flamestoker a little bit tricky. Triple Influence card, traditionally hard to cast. He is Fire, Justice, and Primal. And apart from the Flamestoker, he is also running Ceremonial Mask, a dangerous card to deal with. He has double Wind Shaper, so all flying units in his deck are going to be pretty scary, as well as a Rebel Rouser, and one of those cards that can steal the game, Cloud of Ash.
Yeah, wow. Cloud of Ash, Spire Champlain, we've seen do some work earlier. Navani, that can give you some long-term advantage. And a pretty good amount of aggressive combat tricks. 3 Rampage and a Pummel. So you're looking to hit the attack button quite a bit with this deck.
Yeah.
And it looks like, this match is underway. Child Roland has some good fixing, and Dire Warning gets to start with a Tranquil Scholar that rolls Aegis. That's going to be annoying.
Oh, yeah. One of the better rolls, depending what unit got hit here. If that Aegis hit Navani, for example, our Roland is going to be sad.
Ooh, Roland's got a choice to make here now, though, with this Amber Acolyte. You can either get Primal to unlock your Hatchlings or Shadow to unlock the Suffocate, although Suffocate not looking so good on this board right now, that's for sure, as especially with Tranquil Scholar rolling Aegis.
I think he could have waited a turn there. He didn't need
gone the Stranger
now and dropped the Stranger instead. Would have stalled out the board completely and would have given him more time to draw.
All right, that Aegis ended up being very good. This Longhorn Sergeant is a nice Warcry unit, and it's not in Suffocate range. So now Child Roland's using Archive Curator to silence the Dark Wisp.
Interesting. So he's not planning on suffocating the 2/4 here. So he's rather going for the Vodafone stuff into. He didn't. Never mind. He didn't fetch the shadow, so he wasn't able to. So he's planning on going for the block with the Vodafone staff. And yeah, that's why I said earlier the Aegis was one of the better roles. Any weapon-based deck is going to be happy to have an Aegis unit to slap weapons on, and even better if it's also a Warcry unit here. But now Roland getting really punished for not popping the Aegis. That would have been an absolutely amazing Suffocate right here.
Yep, but instead Suffocate's only target is a Silenced Darkwisp. I don't think we're going to see that happen. So now this Longhorn Sergeant is gaining Dire Warning and armor every turn and getting War Cries in. And Child Roland's got to figure out, well, it's kind of hard to race, but also really hard to block right now, and just goes with the Hatchling, doesn't want to play out the Staff or the Stranger just yet.
Yeah, I think his best bet next turn is to just play the Stranger and equip the Vodafone Staff to shut down this board.
Yeah, and as we talked about earlier, blocking against Dire Warning is a very risky proposition.
Yeah.
He's got 3 Rampages and a Pummel, but Child Roland dodges a bullet there as the units just bounce off each other. Here comes the Vodafone Staff down on a Terriach Hatchling.
Oh, is he intent on racing here? Might be. I mean, he can still take the double block here. The Hatchling survives. He only trades for the 2-1. And it looks like Dire Warning does not want to go for it. So that tells us he mostly does not have any combat trick backup in his hand here. Also, what really helps is when you know which combat tricks to play around, right? If you exactly know you have to play around Rampage and Pummel, that lets you block in a way that it's going to be really tough for opponent to really surprise you with those combat tricks.
So Roland here opts to exhaust his Hatchling so that he gives Dire Warning kind of the go-ahead to swing in and get one more Warcry, but he doesn't take it and gets rewarded with a 6/7 Minotaur Grunt.
Yeah, I'm interested by the no swing there last turn. Because Roland was tapped out, he only presented 5 power, so the 3/7 could have gotten in a free Warcry there.
And that means that Katana would have been +1/+1 more. This would have been an 8/10. Doesn't look like it's making too big of a difference, but in it cracks now. And just the 2-1 goes in front. Child Roland respecting those tricks and everything like that. Scepter of Nobility, reduced cost. All right, not a bad turn.
Not too bad here. So let's see. Roland can still. No, it's not a 2-turn lethal. But I guess he's just banking on his ground units to stall out long enough for him to take the win in the sky here. And the 6/7 Minotaur Grunt plus the Stranger here provide a decent block.
Yeah, wow. The 2/2 comes in as well. What does that telegraph? Does Dire Warning have something like Execute in his deck?
I don't think he has. Maybe a gun down. Could be a gun down. I don't think he has a gun down either. Interesting attack. Not quite sure what he was looking for there with this attack, because Roland is still very healthy. So pushing that extra sacrificing unit to try and push some extra damage doesn't seem quite worth it.
Yeah, especially when you have something like Cloud of Ash in your deck, where even these random 2/2s that don't seem to be relevant can end up being relevant. I realize your opponent's got an endurance unit in play, but those sort of things matter. But when you're this far behind, the Desperation Heave, maybe you get in the lucky chip damage anyways. But Child Roland sniffed it out, made the block, and Dire Warning's trying to find something here, but it's quite the Air Force to deal with.
Yeah, his deck is really not that well suited to deal with the... Well, to be fair, he has a decent amount of his own flying units, but they are really not good at playing defense. Like there's Serpent Trainer, Pouncing Drake is fine, but also doesn't line up super well against this board. There comes the Rampage, a little bit too late, unfortunately. The damage is... Oh, Oblivion Spike? Hold on there.
So that's why he swung with the 2/2. Maybe try and get Oblivion Spike a bit bigger. Yeah, he's at 12. He's not dead yet.
Yeah, but now his biggest threat will get killed off here. Child Roland can go Wasp into stuff. No, wait, he can't pop the Aegis anymore.
Yeah.
Suffocate still being useless. Never mind. I
But
mean, but the
Wasp,
Wasp alone
yeah. Yeah,
is going to
Wasp
be a
can block.
problem.
And Child Roland's at 19. So yeah, 3-3 here are the people not going to get the job done here. Huh.
And that Suffocate, making it keep staying in the hand till the 8th game. The game could have been really easy, really, for Roland if he chose to silence off the Aegis on the 2-4 instead of silencing off the Wisp. If that Suffocate hit the Endurance Warcry unit, there was not much really that Direwolf could have put in the way of Roland just easily taking this game.
Yeah, so I believe that was game 3, so Child Roland takes it. And with that, we've got no more backup matches. So that concludes round 7. One more round of Swiss action before we figure out our top 8 for this tournament. So we'll be taking a quick break and be back with that.